Hey, thanks for coming to 1500ESPN.com. I'm Derek Wetmore. He's Judd Zulgad. We're out Sunday at Vikings training camp. The first day of padded practice.
Oh, yeah.
Finally.
Yep.
We've been waiting for this day for a long time. You were just telling me off camera, Judd, that Charles Johnson is a player that's sort of changed your mind, I guess, in the last calendar year. Because remember, he kind of got buried last year, and we all thought, why isn't Charles Johnson playing more?
Yes.
Stephon Diggs popped onto the scene. Of course, all that was part of it. Then we learned that the rib injury was much more severe than we originally thought.
Yep.
What has changed in your mind about Charles Johnson coming into this year?
Well, I think the great mystery of last year was we knew, I think it was in week 3, that Charles Johnson broke that rib. And we knew he had broke the rib, but what we didn't know was the severity.
Sure.
And so his disappearance, his total disappearance, and to Diggs' credit, he made the most of his opportunity, but the disappearance of Charles Johnson was just weird. And you're saying to yourself, okay, did he do something? Did he fall out of favor? Well, after the season, then we find out that the injury was substantial. It was bad. He's back now. So far in the first 3-4 days of camp, 3 days, I believe.
Man.
Tons of first-team snaps. And I would say that when the season ended last year, I was thinking to myself, is Charles Johnson going to make this roster in 2016? Did something happen here that we don't know about? Well, now knowing that the rib injury was way more severe than we thought, I'd say now that Charles Johnson is a lock to make this roster, and the real question becomes, how long does he potentially start for?
Okay, yeah.
So, because I thought in April or so that there was a chance this guy was done as a Viking.
Bubble roster.
Yes.
Yeah. So I guess that leads pretty well into my next question is, what does this mean for Laquan Treadwell? Obviously, their first-round draft pick, a rookie, they have high expectations for him. Does that mean maybe not right away, or are these two situations not the same?
I think it's ideal because if you're the Vikings now, the pressure's gone. So Treadwell is a guy that you're going to want to play. Treadwell is a guy, hey look, it's our former colleague, Andrew Kramer.
Andrew Kramer?
Oh, nice walkthrough, a nice cameo. Thanks, Andrew.
First time I've seen him down here, actually.
Yeah, he's not working very hard. His life is really simple now. But with Treadwell, you're saying, so on draft night, you're thinking, does he start right away?
Right.
What's going to be asked of him? I still think the ask eventually is going to be substantial here.
Sure.
But the potential depth now, which is greater, especially if Johnson starts, it allows you, I think, more time to sort of ease Treadwell in as opposed to saying he's going to have to start week 1.
Yeah, sure.
So,
and you
it's a
got
good situation.
And not quite the same position, I get it, but you've got Jerry's right for the slot too. So
Yes.
that kind of changes the math.
Yes, yeah. Charles Johnson was the only guy last year where I said, I have no idea what's up here.
Sure.
This just seems odd.
Sure.
And I'll go back to the game in Chicago where he made that great catch. And so you're saying to yourself, the chemistry with Teddy and Charles Johnson was still there.
Yeah.
So this, to me, just gives the Vikings more of a security blanket as far as depth at that position. That's a positive.
Yeah, and I'm not saying Diggs is a guaranteed or anything, but from what he showed last year, it certainly would seem like you could line up those two guys out wide and have Wright in the middle.
I think Diggs is solid, right?
His floor is
he's going to get more attention now.
Yeah, as we saw at the second half of last year.
I don't expect him to go gangbusters or be great, but I do think he works hard, and I would expect the one thing that Bridgewater has shown in my mind is if he can develop chemistry with you, he's going to try to pass to you, right?
Absolutely.
Cordell Patterson has never worked to date since Bridgewater got here. Cordell has never worked hard enough to get there. Mm-hmm. Mike Wallace, it didn't work. So I think when it comes to Charles Johnson and Diggs and eventually Treadwell, it's not like these guys are going to be Pro Bowl players necessarily, but I think the quarterback's going to trust them, and therefore I think they are going to get opportunities to make catches.
Sure. Speaking of the trust factor that you just mentioned, I watched Brian Robinson, veteran defensive end, make kind of a verbally undressed a teammate earlier today, and it was almost like he was a stand-in coach for Mike Zimmer. Mike Zimmer was standing there and he was quietly talking with another Vikings player when a Vikings offensive lineman lined up opposite Brian Robinson flinched. False start. It was the third false start of the quarter or series, whatever they're calling them, the period between horns. And Robinson had enough. He blew his top. He said, "We can't do this. not only offensively does it hurt our cause because we're not able to hard count defenses if you can't stay put. And on defense, if we jump on hard counts, teams are going to do that all day in passing situations. I thought that was really interesting, just sort of an illustration of veteran leadership on the defensive side.
Mike Zimmer has to love that too, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Because
he didn't have to say a word and it got fixed.
In Saturday's practice, Zimmer had to stop a drill, and he melted down.
Yeah.
Which he is prone to do.
With a few four-letter words.
But the issue there is a head coach has X amount of those meltdowns in his grab bag that he can use.
Correct. Well, there's Phil Mackey.
Hey, it's another cameo. Oh, and Ben Gessling's next. So.
God,
come on, Ben. Come on, Ben.
Everyone loves the camera.
Come on, Ben.
Might as well get it over with.
Exactly right.
Might as well get it over with.
I would just like to point out that I was not planning to walk into this video. That's very unprofessional.
Now it's over.
I've got a lot of other things to do. You guys invited me in here. I would never, ever intrude and try to photobomb and try to distract from the high-minded Vikings analysis.
Really?
But since you invited me,
pull up yesterday's video and maybe see that a similar thing went down.
I have no knowledge of that.
You're right. That would be completely unprofessional. Yeah, you're busy.
My time is valuable.
Bye, Ben. So get back to your point about.
Hold on a second.
There are only so many, and Matt, we shouldn't even acknowledge it. We should have just kept going. That there's only so many meltdowns that he can have before it sort of loses its efficacy. Because
that's the point.
Eventually, you're like, okay, fine, we know you're the yeller.
What's better than a veteran defensive end in Robinson melting down, not even on his position group,
right,
but on the offensive guys? This is when you know a coach has to think to himself, I'm doing the right thing, and it's effective. Because in Zimmer's mind, what he has to be saying is, I now have a defensive veteran holding the offensive guys responsible for their actions. This is how you build something, because I can guarantee you right now, if Norv Turner gets mad at the offense, they've heard it before.
Oh, yeah.
To have a defensive player in Robinson get mad at the offense, they say, hold on a second.
Exactly, because think about that.
It's a great story, and I think it speaks volumes to where these guys are at as far as accountability.
Well, year 3 in Zimmer, so that's part of it.
Yep.
Think about the drill. An offsides on the offense helps Robinson. He just won. Long term, though, in his mission to get the Vikings back to another winning season, it's a negative. So the fact that he stopped and pointed out and just did not hold anything back against his teammate.
I think it is. It's an example of where this organization and this team and these players are at right now, and their expectations for each other, which are and should be very, very high.
It's no longer win this drill. They have the bigger picture in mind, I think. That's what I took from it.
Yep, exactly right.
Thanks for coming to the website, 1500ESPN.com. He's Judd Zolgad. I'm Derek Wetmore.
Quickly, though, the truth of training camp is this. You send a bunch of adult males, for the most part, to a college town to cover 10 days of camp, and they all become 12-year-olds.
Children.
It is... what you saw today with the cameos, folks, that's not a sort of good-natured one-time thing. That is training. I've covered training camp down here on a consistent basis since 2005.
Yeah.
This is... The sports writer, they're kids. It's like camp. Yeah. It's like going to camp.
It's unbelievable.
So if you're thinking to yourself,
that's goofy.
That's sort of fun. No, that's just called Sunday afternoon in Mankato. That's all I got to say about that.
He's Judd Zolgad. I'm Derek Wetmore. Check back tomorrow for more Vikings coverage from Mankato.